So the Donald Trump clown show continues, and today we're talking about the markets crashing. If you've been watching the bond market, it is a really big deal. Basically, other countries, people, they don't want to buy U.S. debt right now, and if they do, they want a higher premium for it. Already, we're seeing the yield spike on the 30-year, on the 20-year. You're looking at around 5%. Will it get up to 6%? I don't know. I mean, it's certainly a possibility in this market. Effectively, what's going on is if you look at the Trump budget negotiations, if you guys have been watching that, the Republicans are trying to pass their big, beautiful bill, is what they're calling this thing. The numbers don't add up. The market is telling you the numbers don't add up. The market is also telling you that there's no trust in Donald Trump, and he's so volatile from the day to day. It's interesting because I just played the last video, if you guys saw it, about his meeting with the president of South Africa. It was very, very similar to his meeting with Zelensky, where basically they ambush the guy and say a bunch of just wild and crazy things. And then, as a essentially, because you're a guest in the White House, right? As a foreign leader, you got to come in and like figure out, okay, I know Donald Trump's crazy. How do I maintain relations, but also hold my ground? And it's not an easy thing. I thought the South African president did a fine job when we basically said, "I'm sorry I didn't bring a plane," right? And then Trump's response was like, "Well, if you would have brought a plane, I would have taken it." It's like so ridiculous. To sort of add on to our ridiculousness of the market, you know what's performing well right now is actually Bitcoin. I think it just reached all-time highs, 108,000. So, guys, I get it. If you're a Bitcoin enthusiast, if you're a crypto bull, you're like, "See, Chris, I told you, right? Bitcoin to the moon and all that kind of stuff." But I mean, that's how absurd our markets are. So, if you want stuff that's been spiking lately, it's basically these digital assets that provide no real value to the world, and then are pushed by Trump and his all grifter buddies. That's our markets right now. And the other thing that's really crazy about this kind of thing is, these day and age, when you look at social media and you read comments, stuff like that, you never know for sure if it's a real person or not. You guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. And I mention that is because remember, we're in the information age right now. And especially with financial markets or anything going on in the world, like the number one thing that people want is the truth. They're just like, "Hey, tell me what's going on, be honest with me," this kind of stuff. And it's getting harder and harder to tell. I'm just being perfectly frank with you. That's sort of why I sort of keep my sanity by talking to you all. And I do appreciate you all sharing your thoughts with me. Um, there's some interesting news coming out of Japan also, which relates to all this stuff. Because remember, part of Trump's plan is to negotiate with other countries whatever quote deal that he wants to make to try to profit for himself. But other countries have their own problems as well. So not only is Trump like rupturing the whole system, he's trying to negotiate with countries that have their internal problems. So, for example, in Japan, they're concerned about local people are concerned about the price of rice. In USA, you always talk about eggs, et cetera. So it's pretty crazy because I didn't realize it was this bad, but I was just looking. It was just like the last couple of months, rice prices really spiked. I think effectively doubled from last year, which is really a lot. And one of the golden rules in a place like say Japan is don't mess with the price of rice, like something that everybody wants and everybody needs and eats. And it was just a couple days ago. The foreign or not so sorry, the agricultural minister of Japan made a joke like a fundraiser. So he's out raising money and he made a joke that he gets his rice for free. And for people who are like seeing the price of rice, that's like not funny, right? And so he actually resigned. It's very, very different environment in other countries than the USA. In USA, it's like in Trump's situation, it's like, to be, brazen about accepting gifts as such as planes, whereas like someone's making a joke about, rice as a gift or make any sort of thing in shame. Like you just resign. That actually is a real thing in other places is shame and something that I've talked about several times on the channel where someone like a Donald Trump or Elon Musk, they just don't have any shame. They go about their corrupt business and they act like, "Oh yeah, well everybody does it. That's just the way that we do business." And the followers of Trump, they kind of usually say the same thing. Well, if you want to be successful in today's world, you got to have a monster in office, and Donald Trump's our monster, or you could say Donald Trump's our madman. It's like how do you talk with these kind of people, guys? I really know it's frustrating to watch this stuff from day after day after day after day, and I just feel like yeah, that's what I was trying to describe it. I feel like Donald Trump and their ilk. It's kind of like those family members that you wish you weren't related to. You guys know the ones, and they always have some sort of tragedy. They knock up on your house, knock on your door, and you're just like, Do I open the door? Do I pretend I'm not related to them? Like how do I deal with this? And it's frustrating because we have actually very serious problems in USA, very serious problems happening all over the world. And to be perfectly frank, guys, I just want serious people in office, and I want people who care about the average person, and also like understand the average person. From the Trump and the Musk point of view, Trump thinks that groceries is an old term. It's ludicrous, and I know because I read from your comments. I'm just sharing thoughts with you guys. I know how it is because like people say, they're like they feel crazy all the time when you feel like you're being, gaslit. Basically, the Trump and the Musk, they try to say, well, don't believe your eyes, don't believe your lying eyes, right? And when they tell you, like they say, guys, your gas prices are all really low right now, and look at how cheap groceries are and stuff like that. That's what they say. Like I play it for you guys, and you're just like what are you talking about? And it's like frankly insane. And then on top of that, like I try to instill in you guys to, be a positive about this stuff. I know we get stuck on the negative, but I honestly think midterms are going to come. I think people are going to, see the choices and be like, man, those Republican people are ruining it. I really think so. And that's something to look forward to, right? And I'll tell you the truth when that stuff comes out. We do know in the last election it was the one in Wisconsin. If you guys looked at the exit polls on that one and sort of saw the results, I mean, it was a heavy shift to the blue. I think there was a major backlash against both Trump and Elon Musk. Remember, Musk was basically throwing his cash around trying to effectively buy the election, and it didn't work. And I was talking about the Supreme Court thing, if you guys remember that. So Musk, according to him, he said he's, had enough. He doesn't need to, or he's done enough. I think that's what his phrase was. I'm not going to do any political spending in the midterms, and that would be interesting because if you follow the story, basically what it was is Musk was threatening people, like anyone who opposed Trump, he was threatening to fund their opponents. Now, if Musk's money isn't around, right, and being tied to Trump is deeply unpopular, he made some real interesting swings because that's usually what happens in these kind of because at the end of the day, all these people are politicians, right? And so if they think it helps them, like a local politician, if your local politician thinks it helps them to stick and be tight to Trump, they'll do that. But if they look at Trump's poll numbers, and I think the last time I checked, it was like a 42%, something of that nature. That was the most recent one that came out. I know 42% is still way too high. I'm like, who are these people? Who are this 42%? And it's frustrating because the guys, I know how it is. Everyone, when we talk about this stuff, they'll say, I have a friend who's like this total MAGA person. I try to tell them the truth, and they just like go la 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 la. Right? That's how you feel. And in fact, someone asked me about what elections like here in Korea. True story. So Yeji circle of friends, they hate Yoon and they hate Yoon's party. If you follow that issue, basically, Yoon called for an illegal martial law, and it's just like, why would you ever go for that party? So, they completely rejected that. Now, there was one person, I guess, that it's like a friend of a friend of a friend wants to vote for Yoon's party. It's essentially the sort of Trump MAGA kind of people, and like all of these friends, like, how crazy is this person? Like, it's insane. But ultimately, and going back to say the Trump situation, when people see higher prices due to tariffs, when people see major slowdowns because there won't be tourism this year to the USA, when you see business activity slow down, when you see many retailers may or may not, have the products that you want on the shelves, like when you start to see like really major disruptions in your life, you realize, the Trump stuff doesn't work. For the average person, they may not understand the full system. I'm just be honest with you, they may not understand the full system. And I try to help you guys to get all of it, but like when they really see the impacts on their regular lives, and this is sort of how from the Democratic perspective, what you have to do is tie the failings of the economy, the failings in business activity directly to Trump and to Trump's policies, and then that'll be where the turn is. The trick for Trump will be is like, how long can you blame stuff on Biden? That's honestly what it boils down to. And how long can you blame stuff on the media? And that's their game that they're going to play, and they're going to try to distract people as long as they can. So that's my thoughts on this. I want to hear yours, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.